destroyed by the Israeli occupation forces, consisting mostly of women and children. More than 42,000 housing units in the Gaza Strip have been completely destroyed, with an additional 220,000 residential units damaged. At least 45% of Gaza's housing units are either destroyed or damaged. All of this destruction created the displacement of over 1.2 million residents from their homes, creating a humanitarian crisis for the Palestinians. 72 mosques were completely destroyed. 255 schools, with 63 of them are deemed not operational. 25 hospitals are now inoperable, and 3 churches were bombed, including the 3rd oldest church in the world. As a father of 4 children and a grandfather of 2 grandchildren, I am deeply disturbed by the images of Palestinian babies who died in their incubators at the Shifa hospital in Gaza due to the lack of oxygen. These are images you will not see on the mainstream media in the US. Earlier this week, stray hungry dogs roaming the streets of Gaza began eating the flesh of dead bodies because the Palestinians can no longer bury their loved ones with dignity. Colleagues, the disproportionate response by the State of Israel to the attacks of October 7th does not justify this genocide being perpetrated against the Palestinians in Gaza. As an Arab American elected official representing the city of Dearborn, when I speak about what's going on in Gaza, I am reflecting the sentiments, frustrations, and anger of over half of Dearborn residents. What would a ceasefire mean for the innocent people of Gaza? It would mean they would be safe from indiscriminate bombing. It would mean that hospitals could function again. It would mean Palestinians could bury their dead. No human being can look at this and not scream loudly for a ceasefire. We are in Wayne County, home to the largest concentration of Arab Americans anywhere in our nation. One of them is my constituent. He is from Gaza, and he testified the other day that he lost over 80 members of his own family in this war. Entire families are being wiped out. What further suffering do we need to see to scream loudly for a ceasefire? You know, sometimes people think the situation in Gaza is a foreign policy issue we should not be concerned with, but that's not true. First, thousands of directly affected individuals live right here in Wayne County. As importantly, our government is Israel's main funder and protector. $4 billion of American taxpayer money go to Israel every year. That is a domestic issue. That is a Wayne County issue. Couldn't that money be better spent in our communities, ensuring we have clean water, better roads and bridges, healthcare, and so much more? Recently, the director of the New York office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights left his post, calling what's happening in Gaza is a textbook case of genocide. It is our duty to stand up for what is right, for justice, for the truth, for our communities. We must do better. I urge all of my colleagues, all elected officials, and everyone in Wayne County to call for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. I will end my remarks with the famous words of Dr. Martin Luther King. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. As you know, all of our hearts break for what's going on in Gaza, and the images that you just described are heartbreaking. And I think there's no one in here that condemns or that approves of what's going on there. So thank you for your passion. Thank you for your remarks. I pray that there's a resolve to this crisis in the very near future, because no more innocent lives need to die in either Israel or Gaza. So thank you for your remarks, Commissioner. Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to say on the record that I agree with Commissioner Beydoun's statement, and I'd like to join him in calling for an immediate ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, go back to Knizik. Okay, Commissioner Jesus.
Thank you, Madam the Chair. I think the tragedy is what you heard from my colleague Sam Baidoun. We all heard those terrible stories through the media, and we know through the history and suffering and huge problem for the world peace. What's really bothering me is nobody speaking about peace. The world like teaming up to fuel the problem in the Middle East. We send more hardware and more ammunition, and other countries do the same thing. And my deep, sad feeling is nobody looking for peace until we have sincere leadership who really work hard. It's a very difficult issue, but can we accomplish that? Yes, we can. There's nothing impossible. And a proof in the history, President Carter started that. And he was able to have two countries to recognize Israel, and Israel recognized both sides, an open embassy in each other's capital. But to continue that, he didn't get reelected. So the problem now, I'm in support of any resolution for ceasefire, but I would like to have resolution after that to call on the world leader, focus and work hard toward peace instead of fuel the war and create more misery for the human being. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. You're absolutely correct. So we do need to talk about peace and getting our leadership to address that. That's the core of all of this. Thank you. Commissioner Knizik.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I want to join Commissioner Haddis and Commissioner Daub and Commissioner Baidoun in calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, an immediate ceasefire to protect the lives of innocent people. I want to share some remarks that I've pulled up on my phone here. Lately, I've received some pushback from folks regarding my comments in defense of several of the communities that I represent. At times, these comments have gone as far as questioning my loyalties. In every instance, I am reminded of the famous World War II quote from Martin Niemöller. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak. My loyalties lie with my country, my family, and my friends. They are white, and they are black, and they are brown. They are of every faith and denomination. They are gay, and they are straight. They are male and female. They are skinny and fat and tall and short. And yes, even a few are refugees. So at the end of the day, some folks may not like what I say, and some folks may not like who I defend. But God forbid, if and when someone comes after you or your way of life, well, I'll defend you too. I wrote those words December 9th, 2015, when this country was pushing back on accepting Syrian refugees to this country in the wake of what was taking place over there. When I talk about folks may not like what I have to say, I'm certainly experiencing that right now. I know there's a lot of folks that are upset about what I have to say, about what's taking place in Gaza, in the West Bank, and throughout the Middle East. The reality is, I have a position in our community, I have a title, and with that comes a role and a responsibility to speak out, to stand up, and to do what is right, even when it is unpopular, even when it brings about blowback and negativity for each and every one of us. We signed up for these jobs. That is what we signed up to accept. Asking for a ceasefire is the absolute bare minimum that we should be asking for. And I understand, as has been said here today, perhaps it feels like it's too far away from here in Wayne County. It intimately affects the families that live in my district. It intimately affects the families that live in Commissioner Baydoun's district. It intimately impacts people that sit on this Wayne County Commission. I have shared with this commission that I'm the only person that has served in war. I am not the only person on this commission that has lived through one. But I can tell you that having lived through that experience, having seen the death and destruction that comes with it, the death and destruction that happens in the here and now, and the death and destruction that follows for years and generations to come, I cannot sit silent while my community is hurting. I cannot sit silent while our tax dollars are being used to murder innocent women, innocent children, and innocent men in Gaza. Every single bomb that is dropped on a church, on a mosque, every single bomb that is dropped on a man, on a woman, on a child, every single bomb that is dropped on a hospital, on a school, you and I have paid for it. That's wrong. And I understand that it might take time and it might take nuance and it might take collaboration to get to a place where we can find the language to bring before this commission to say that we support a ceasefire. And I love what Commissioner Haddis said. What comes next? What comes next? It's hard to talk about what comes next when bombs are raining down on you on a daily basis. It's hard to talk about what's next if you're not alive to be a part of the conversation. So I understand it can be difficult. I understand it can be challenging. I understand that some of us might feel like we're being put in difficult situations. We signed up to be put in difficult situations. We signed up to take a principled stand on things that are right and to stand on the right side of humanity. So I look forward to having that conversation and again, join my colleagues in calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Very difficult topic, very difficult situation. I want to remind everyone, no matter your faith, your ethnicity, your race, we all bleed red. So we are all humans under my God. And what's happening is absolutely atrocious. And we pray that there is a cease of all of this so that peace and innocence can come through and the children of that area can grow up in an area that is free of bombing and free of people looking at them different. We all need to understand that we are all one. And again, I know our hearts go out to all of the relatives in our neighboring communities and their relatives who are over in Gaza and in the West Bank. We just pray for peace at this time. I think our invocator said it best this morning, that we just pray that there's a resolve to this sooner than later. Are there any additional remarks by members? Commissioner Haydus?
Thank you, Madam the Chair. I don't want anybody watching this meeting on TV or here to have a question after all this talk, why we don't have a resolution. I think resolution to ask for ceasefire, I think it's been sent to the White House from all over the country. I would like to see the chairperson and Sam Baydoun, the chair pro tem, to have resolution that make everybody comfortable and this body ready, as you mentioned, Madam the Chair, for the 7th. So that's why I want to ever watching or he's here is we working on resolution. We didn't leave this room without agreeing on having resolution for the ceasefire.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional remarks by members? Is there a motion to adjourn? All right,